Hello everyone and welcome back to a best of 5 series of professional StarCraft 2. Today it's time for the grand finals of the ESL Open Cup America number 117. And it's actually a Protoss versus Zerg between two of my favorite Americans. So first off, in the top left-hand corner of the map, playing with the, what is this, Red Protoss probes from the beautiful state of Denmark. We are looking at MaxPax's main Nexus. And then his opponent from South Korea, I believe that's right next to Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, with the blue Zerg drones, we are looking at the Dark's main base. All jokes aside, every week there's an ESL Open Cup for the Asian region, the European region, and then also the American region. Now, I believe it only dictates the server that the games are being played on. So I guess MaxPax's and Dark both have pretty terrible ping towards the American server, but yeah, they they decided to participate and met in the grand finals. So I'm excited to find out exactly what ended up going down between these two players. It should be an interesting clash of styles. So MaxPax's did mention that he's not the biggest fan of the new patch so far. At the very least, he mentioned it. I think what he did is he posted it in someone's Twitch chat, and then someone took a screenshot of that and posted it to Reddit, and then a lot of Reddit drama immediately ensued. So basically, MaxPax's, he's a really good PvZ player, but with the new patch, obviously, Void Rays are not as good, and that was his go-to opener. So I can imagine that he's still experimenting with a variety of build orders, but according to him, at the very least, he's not enjoying PvZ as much as he used to in the past. Right away, we saw a couple of nicknames pop up. People started calling him MaxPax, right? Making him a Patchtos. Not entirely sure if that's fair, because MaxPax, of course, over the last couple of years, has been rapidly improving. As of me making this video, according to Alugalek, MaxPax is considered to be the rank 10 in the world overall. Dark currently considered to be the rank 4. That being said, of course, Dark has been participating in tournaments since like 2010. At the very least, it feels like I've been watching Dark games for over a decade. The guy is very good. A previous world champion of StarCraft 2 as well. I mean, is there anything that really needs to be said about Dark? Dark, one of the very best StarCraft 2 players of all time. MaxPax's a lot younger though, so he's 17 years old as of making this video. Of course, he did qualify for the World Championships that happened back in February. However, he decided to decline his invitation despite his amazing performance in 2021. And we don't know why. He never mentioned as to why that is. As a matter of fact, I mean, I know I mentioned this in pretty much every single MaxPax's cast, but there's a lot of mystery surrounding this man. We don't even know what he looks like. We don't know nothing about him. He doesn't play with a camera on. He doesn't stream with a camera on. We just, yeah, hear a little bit about him from time to time in, like, interviews and stuff. But other than that, MaxPax's remains a mystery. My favorite theory about the StarCraft community, or from the StarCraft community, is that MaxPax's is actually just Serral off racing. Although, I do find that hard to believe. Either that, or he's a Danish prince. Apparently, there is some Danish royalty that is right around 17 years old as well. That's also a great theory. Either way, he is turning 18 soon enough, so if it was like an age reason, right, maybe, I don't know, maybe he didn't want to travel or something along those lines. Should be a little bit easier this year, in theory anyways. So what do we have over here? Okay, it looks like Zerglings may have snuck in there. Yeah, an Adept goes down. Second Adept in the main base also goes down. In the end, not really that efficient right there for our Protoss player whatsoever, especially if you go for a Twilight Council opener. Generally speaking, Twilight Council openers are followed up with a Glaive Adept research. And obviously, if you lose 2 Adepts, that's not ideal at all. Now the Zerglings are going to go in for the counterattack here. Only 1 Stalker here to hold these units back. Warp Gates are finishing up right now, but excellent timing by Dark. Dark is so good in these types of situations, man. Ooh, okay. So I think he should be able to defend this relatively easily, but a little bit of panic right here from MaxPax's for now. As someone who has been playing Zerg for a very long time, I've studied replays for most of the top-level Zerg players, right? Actually, all of them. Dark is by far the highest, or the hardest player to learn from, because if you compare 3 of his games, none of them look even remotely similar. So for example, Serral, he plays a very stoic approach, where like his games pretty much look the same every single time. But Dark just kind of wings it. He's like, yep. 3 minutes and 57 seconds, that's when I want to Roach Warren. Second gas seems about right. He plays very loosely, probably making him an extremely hard opponent to play against as well, because even if you scout him, you don't really know exactly what he's going for. But yeah, he's not a very rigid player at all. One of the hardest players to study for sure. I guess you need to know all of the rules before you can break them, right? And Dark definitely capable of doing so. So he's sniffing this out wonderfully. He didn't scout the main base, despite the fact that I believe he got Zerglings in there. But he already has the Spine Crawlers over here. I guess he saw the additional Adepts being warped in, so he's like, okay, if I see 4 Adepts, Spine Crawler probably not a bad idea. MaxPax's, despite the fact that he's going Glaive to Depths, is still following this up with a Robotics Bay. So the Robo Bay, of course, allows you to produce, well, Colossi, but also Disruptors. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if that's going to be the follow-up right here for MaxPax's. Okay, Prism is here as well. Roaches are being produced. He's even sneaking in a couple of drones. MaxPax's apparently playing against a Zerg who's feeling very confident. Most Zerg players, for example, will go 42 drones first and then make army, which in theory is better because you'll end up with more stuff, right? If you have drones mining for longer, but anyways, good targeting right there by MaxPax's. He does decide to cancel that shade in, walks off creep once again, which should make it hard for those Zerg units to chase him down. So no third Nexus here, right? Okay, there finally goes the third Nexus. Ugh. That is so late. Like, it bothers me a lot when I see, especially if we're also gonna mine some minerals. This is a base that was taken essentially at, like, what was that, 700 minerals? I think Protoss players are still starting to get used to the new patch, but building a base at that many resources is just straight up inefficiency. Anyways. Dark already feeling confident, goes straight into a lair. One thing that does surprise me about Dark, though, is that, like, one of the most common follow-ups to this Adept shenanigans is Dark Templar, and he's got one Spore Crawler over here and no lair. So if it would have been Dark Templar, right? I mean, what are you gonna do here as a Zerg? I'm fairly certain that the natural in the main base... Oh, actually, there's a second... yeah, maybe he would be fine. There are 2 spores in total, apparently. Yeah... Anyways, Dark cuts some of the craziest corners in a lot of his games, and he's been doing so for a long time, so I guess they're calculated gambles that he likes to take, but it always seems a little bit dangerous to me. Obviously, static defense for Zerg is not very static at all. Anyways, Zerglings going across the map, still trying to be annoying. That shield battery is bound to run out of energy eventually. Disruptor now available as well. Queens take a bit of damage, and one of them split into that... Adept ball as well. Not quite ideal. There is a second Disruptor available too. I really do like what MaxPax's is doing, and that was a great hit. Going for a variety of units here. Trying to punish the Zerg player for going for such a late lair. Zerg in the meantime dealing some damage on the other side of the map. Yeah, definitely a few probes have gone down here. Love the Evo Chamber block over here as well from Dark. Making it hard for those Adepts to continue actually harassing this mineral line over here too. 2 of them will try and shade towards the back of that natural, and eventually they do make it over there too. But all things considered, good cleanup right there by Dark. How exactly is this counterattack gonna go? I think you need those Disruptors at home, but not before trying at least your hand at a few more drones there as well. So in total, 16 workers killed by MaxPax's. The problem is, if you don't have those Disruptors at home, that Roach army is gonna hit like an absolute truck. Lair was super late though, so Roach Warren is not gonna finish up Glio Reconstitution here anytime soon. So these Roaches are gonna be super slow, which makes me a little bit concerned against those Disruptors. I mean, off creep, they should do a lot of damage. Alright, well, that's not that much damage yet. Excellent zoning here, by the way, by Dark. Moving forward as well, look at this. Purposely splitting up the army. Those are just sacrificial Roaches. 3 Roaches apparently is enough. That the Colossus just end up going down? Wow, okay, that one could have literally just walked back into the main base. And I think this does mean that Dark is going to be able to take out the 3rd base here. Yep. Fairly certain that that Colossus should have stayed alive. That actually should have looked a lot better, I think, for MaxPax's. Anyway, soon a Roach Speed is going to be done. A Spire on the back of this as well here for Dark. He really wants to harass the workers, but... You never know where the additional queens are. Okay, luckily here for MaxPax's, he does get that Prism out. So, Spire, you can make Corruptors. You could also make Mutas. I think both are a great choice. Mutas for the counterattack. Yep, it is going to be Mutas. Corruptors would be great at just simply taking out that Prism as well as the Colossi. Another Colossus is coming up right now. I'm not entirely sure why MaxPax's is making Colossi into a Roach Ravager-based army. They're not terrible, but they're pretty bad. I think you'd rather have Immortals. Or, you know, more Disruptors. Not a bad choice either. Anyways, at this point, Blink, of course, is done. MaxPax's does have a lot of Stalkers to support the Colossi. So those Mutas should theoretically not be able to get that much work done. 4th base finished up right here for Dark. 3rd base is, well, gonna finish up for the 2nd time for MaxPax's. He's gonna first go after that Prism. We need to see a very quick recall. Oh my god, that's so dangerous! Alright. Dark was defending that absolutely brilliantly for a long time until like 3 seconds, not even 3. A second and a half before he shut it all down. He didn't need to do that, got a little bit greedy, and MaxPax's, well, got, I guess, a little bit of value there in the end, too. Here's the real problem, though. Yeah, those mutas are super fast. They show up completely unscouted. MaxPax's, I don't think he saw the spire there. Where is it? In the main base? No, he did not see the production of it at all. So that means that once more, probes are going down. That's the real strength of those mutalisks. He's adding on more even. He's going into +1 flyer attacks too. So Dark, despite the fact that he knows he goes up against someone who's going a lot of stalkers, he's gonna go Mutaling now. Mutaling is actually exactly what I think MaxPax's wants to play against. The real problem is though, so initially in small numbers, the stalkers are pretty good against the mutas. But once the muta ball grows, since mutas can stack up together and stalkers can't, you can actually have a lot of crazy engagements. So mass muta does beat mass stalker is what I'm getting at, just because of the stacking. Obviously though, Protoss could go into Psionic Storm, they could go into Archons, and I think both of those are great options. Dark right now splitting up the mutalisks. Okay, not something that we normally see. Is this StarCraft Brood War? I mean, this is dealing so much damage. Oof. Alright. Yeah, Dark looking like he's in firm control so far of this match. The main concern for Dark right now is holding this big army, but honestly, since there's no disruptors here in the mix anymore, I think just pure Roach Ravagers should be able to just deal with that relatively well. He's decided to go for a ton of Stalkers, or sorry, a ton of Zerglings though against those Stalkers, which I guess makes some sense. But with good force fields, I do think that, yeah, there is a chance that MaxPax's is going to be able to plow through that Zerg force. We're now at 28 mutas. Soon to be 32. +2 flyer attacks coming up as well for Dark. He did not go for any evolution chambers. So most of the Zerg army is mutas. Most of the time mutas are not really considered attacking units. They're considered harassment units because so many Protoss units counter them. But MaxPax's is not really making any units that properly counter a ton of mutas. 8 more are coming up. Stalkers are going to be okay for now, but yeah, I don't think Dark even plans on fighting that head army or that army head on. Instead, he's going to go for a full counterattack. MaxPax's knows that there's no way he's going to be able to win a base race, and he taps out because Dark was not planning on fighting that army head on. All right. I think that MaxPax's is going to have to tighten things up a little bit if he wants to take out someone of the caliber of Dark. Little mistakes were, of course, made right there on both sides, but Dark definitely played a little bit better overall. I mean, losing 2 adepts when you go for a Glaives opener, and then obviously building that Nexus at like 700 minerals. I mean, that's just to name 2 things. Those are 2 things that you really do want to try and avoid. Obviously, Dark did make that pretty massive error as well when he first got his mutas out, and he was like, haha, gotcha now! And then he still ended up losing like 10 additional roaches for no apparent reason. Either way, we'll see where this is going to go. I actually assumed... So what Dark was playing in the previous game was a playstyle that I haven't seen at the pro level in quite some time. But I actually assumed that Dark wanted to fight that army head on. But he was going for a playstyle there that we used to see back in the early days of StarCraft 2 quite a bit. So essentially Zergs found out that it was extremely hard to fight against maxed out Protoss armies. And I realized, wait a second, if I just go like mass Zergling, Baneling, Muta, I can actually kill them before they can kill me. So if I see the Protoss player move out, I'm just going to go and counterattack. I believe that mass recall wasn't a thing back then either. And obviously that is something that MaxPax's could have sort of used in that previous game, but I'm fairly certain that the Zergling service area at that point would be quite a bit too big. And obviously at that point the third base would be gone as well, so I don't think that really was an option. Either way, Dark basically just planned that entire game to go for as many mutas as he could possibly muster. And then he decided to just, yeah, go in for the counterattack when he saw the Protoss player moving out. If you don't have any Storm, and you don't have any Archons, and you don't have any Phoenixes, or anything along those lines, mutas are actually quite powerful. Mutas are always a funny unit. Like, they really suck at fighting armies head-on, until you get about 50 of them, and then they seem to destroy everything. It's a pretty interesting dynamic. When you have like 7 of them, they just kind of get picked off. But once you get a couple upgrades on them and stuff, and you control them decently well, and you don't fly into Archons or Storm, yeah, it's a unit that has a lot of potential. I think we're actually going to see a lot of Spire play. So, like, one of the reasons why mutas have lost popularity in PvZ in the previous patch, or they did lose popularity is because a lot of Stargate openers, like if you go like double Stargate, you know, Void Ray by default, and you scout that your opponent is going Spire, that's awesome. Just start producing a couple of Phoenixes, right? In the previous patch, you could still be caught off guard as well, obviously, if you weren't scouting at all as a Protoss, and then suddenly 12 Mutas popped in your base. That would be kind of bad. But now that we see a lot of players only making like one, you know, Void Ray, or, you know, maybe a couple of Oracles, and then maybe, you know, we have seen a lot of Phoenix play as well, but now that the strategies are a little bit different, I think that a Spire start for Zerg is actually good against practically everything. We'll see. We'll see. But I wouldn't be surprised if Zerg players are going to opt to go for a lot of Muta play. Going forward as well. Protoss players around the world getting upset right now. I know, guys. I played Zerg for like 5 years, right? Exclusively. And then I decided to play some Protoss. And I climbed all the way up to like Masters. And I found out how incredibly annoying Mutalisks actually are when you're not prepared for them. Like, you don't need to scout for as much as Protoss, but you really do need to know if it's Muta play. Anyways, okay, so I like seeing this. Cool. This is MaxPax's going for a Dark Templar opener. So I've cast a lot of Heroes games recently. Hero has been going for a lot of Disruptor drops, a lot of Glyph Adept openers. We've seen him play some Void Rays as well, right? We've seen a variety of openers. Mass Phoenix, also a really cool one. We haven't really seen a lot of Protoss players, at least on my channel, mess around with Dark Shrines. So I actually think that Dark Templar drops into Archons are awesome. Like, Dark Templar into Archon drops is one of my all-time favorite strategies. I haven't seen a lot of Protoss players at the pro level do it yet, though, and there must be a reason why they don't, but it seems that MaxPax's is going for that exact strategy right here. So this is a very aggressive version of it. This is going to hit really quite early, but we did see Dark scouting with an Overlord. He did see that nothing was researching in a Twilight Council, so if he is paying attention, he would start up a couple of spores. If he doesn't, okay, that's super late, but we are going to go for 3... Oh, God. Hello. Okay, I don't really know exactly where that was going to go. Either way, look at this. We're going to be at like 445, and there's going to be 3 Dark Templar out. Very, very, very aggressive warp in over here. Prism is going to die, but at the very least, the Dark Templar managed to get out. Yeah, I don't know why Max decided to go that far forward. I get that he wanted to arrive as quickly as possible, but... Alright, if you can snipe... A little bit of indecisiveness right now. I think you commit, right? I think you commit. If you can snipe... Oh, I love this. The body blocking right here with the drones. Yeah, he's not going to recall. Ugh. Another sloppy opener right here for Max. Not ideal whatsoever. Okay, maybe these adepts can actually justify a lot of this, though. He didn't commit. Okay, he didn't decide to commit there. Alright, so big picture. These units are being killed. Big picture. Yeah, so when you do go for the Dark Templar opener, you really do want to try and keep the DTs alive so you can actually morph them into Archons, right? So we do have Archons follow this up right now, but... that is a little bit later than you ideally want them to, I think. Yeah. You want to go into Dark Templar, and if that doesn't win you the game straight up, or you don't do a lot of damage with them, you keep them alive, morph in Archons. I guess in MaxPax's case, you warp in one more, and then eventually you go into that move. Anyways, for now, Dark can do whatever he likes. Apparently what he likes to do is go for a lair. Oh, but I do like, though, for Max is that he made the 3rd base at a very early time this time. At least when you go for a DT opener, this one's pretty quick. So... yeah, I think actually Dark is putting himself in a... No, come on. Come on, Max! Anyways, I think that obviously he's busy microing over here, but I do think Dark is playing maybe a little bit too safely because his work account has been lower than that of the Protoss for quite a while. There's once again a Spire. Yeah, Spire makes sense against everything. Since Hydras really aren't the greatest unit to go for. Especially against Protoss. I think Spire just makes way more sense. Six Overlords coming up for Dark. Alright. Nicely done. A little bit of micro. Good stuff. So I think Dark is once again going to go for the same unit composition, but this time around he is playing against a Protoss who's got a similar economy as him, though. So despite the fact that the initial bit of aggression didn't really work out there for Max, he did secure a third base at a much more conventional time, I guess, and therefore he's got himself a far better mid-game now coming up. Interestingly enough, though, it's only Blink Stalkers. So there's no Colossi, there's no Immortals, there's a couple Archons, I guess, but it's just Stalkers. There's the Disruptors, I guess, coming up as a transition. Maybe a Colossus or two. Yeah, probably Colossi, actually. Anyway, 7 Mutas are coming up. He didn't see the Spire. You really do want to try and scout for Spires, I think, but... Anyways, looks like the Prism may just accidentally be home at the correct place at the correct time. No, careful now. Dark sees them. Ah, there's 2 Archons in here, though, right? Yeah. Stalkers are coming up, too. Couple of links right here on the left side of the map. Scout the timing of the 4th base, and maybe can even force a cancel. That being said, this is actually a cool timing right now, and it's catching Dark completely off guard. Dark actually queued up like 11 drones just now. Muta's going in for the counterattack, but is there enough for the Zerg player to actually deal with this? With good micro, okay, Sentry there goes down, but with good micro, I do feel like there's a potential right here for MaxPax's to deal significant amounts of damage. That being said, Muta's right now dealing a lot of damage over in the natural expansion of the Protoss player as well. 4th base of the Zerg going down, couple drones right here being sacrificed too. Lings on the left side of the map are being cleaned up by one hero, Dark Templar, getting 5 kills to its name. 4th base of the Zerg, well, apparently it's not even that important anymore. Stalkers are smelling blood in the water and they decide to go in for the kill. Oh, very last second blink right there for MaxPax's. Mutas, though, going from the natural into the main base. They've already killed 20-odd workers. Did MaxPax's just overextend? Okay, he decides to once again aggressively blink forward. He really tries to pick off as many of those Ravagers as he can. Queens trying to transfuse them back up to full 2. 31 workers in total. 4th base of the Protoss player stays alive because of this hero right over here. MaxPax's decides to retreat. Even though he's got a good amount of bases, he didn't kill the 4th base of the Zerg. He wanted to go in for the kill, but this is one of those moments where I think with a little bit more practice, a lot of Protoss players will make decisions that are a little bit more stable than that. Like, either you go in for the kill or you kill the 4th base. Now, we did a little bit of both. And obviously, like, there's like, I don't know, like 1,500 health resources, right, that have been damaged by the Protoss player that could have gone onto other things. Anyhow, obviously he's capable of pumping out quite a few workers at once if he wants to. With 4 Nexi, it does add up pretty quickly, okay? Photon cannons are coming up into bases. Zerg once again going for a similar approach. So Dark does not plan on fighting that Protoss army if he cannot avoid it. That being said, MaxPax's at this point sniffs it out. Stays on Mass Stalker. What has this matchup become? I love it. It's so nice. Okay. Now, a lot of Zerglings are obviously going to be pretty good against this sort of thing. Nice pickup micro there at the Prism. Despite the fact that they have Blink. I guess it wasn't cooldown, so he's like, you know what? I'll save you guys. Alright. There may have been a Dark Templar or something. I'm not sure. Did he lose that many workers to that previous fight? I guess so. Alright. Both players at a pretty low economy. MaxPax's moving forward. Here we go. Dark going in for the counterattack. I feel like he should probably be fighting these units instead, but I guess that Max doesn't actually want to fight those armies head on either. So now we once more have got ourselves what seems to be a bit of a base race. Most of the Stalkers, though, do get recalled to the other side of the map. Is there enough for the Zerg player to clean all of this up? Protoss blinks towards the low ground. Couple of Stalkers, I guess, were stuck in the main base. Once again, probes are falling, but drones were already killed on the other side of the map too. MaxPax's with some really stellar micro, keeping a lot of those Stalkers alive, trying to blink the low HP Stalkers to the back of that line, and it looks like Protoss is stabilizing. 21 probes, though, have gone down already. Muta's in the main base. Should be chased down relatively smoothly. Those couple of photon cannons really super helpful, but apparently Max still wants to apparently put his foot down and deal damage on the other side of the map. Once again, on the offensive with the majority of his Stalkers. Zerg at this point, hits the WW. I mean, he was using the Korean language, I suppose. Anyways, that's the GG, but Dark at this point on 2 bases he realizes, even though he's got a bigger supply here, that there's really no way for him to stay in this game for much longer. He probably could have tried and at the very least pull some of his workers or something and then surround those Protoss units. But anyways, Blink is pretty good. GG. So now we've got ourselves an interesting series. Dark has shown his hand in game number 1. MaxPax's answered his bluff in game number 2. Where are we gonna go from here? So Dark apparently seems to be keen to defend with Roach Ravager Ling in the early game, and then transition towards Muta Ling in the mid game. MaxPax decided to go Mass Stalker in game number 2, but for obvious reasons. There's like 17 different builds that Zerg players can go for that are good against Mass Stalker. The one that Dark was going for in the previous one wasn't one of them, but I mean, eventually, you kind of want to start upgrading the links, right? If you get Zergling melee upgrades, suddenly they absolutely destroy everything. Anyhow, very curious to see how this is now going to play out. I'm not really expecting any craziness here in the early game. Dark more than content to take the 3rd base first. Probe, of course, on Berlingrad can get from the natural to the natural very easily. This is a map with a very quick rush distance. Despite the fact that it feels quite long, you can actually get to the other side of the map rather easily. Alright. So, even though Max apparently isn't the biggest fan of PvZ right now, you can still definitely open up Void Rays. The main thing that really got nerfed, I suppose, is double Stargate Void Ray, right? But you can still definitely go Void Rays. I guess the main difference is that you're gonna end up with like 1 less than you normally would. But on the flip side, the Zerg can't go for a Queen March to the other side of the map anymore. So, since the, like what I'm trying to get at, right? Like the production time of the Void Ray obviously has gone up by 6 seconds and it's 50 minerals more. So it has certainly become more expensive and harder to make that unit. But the main threat to those Void Ray openers was obviously Queens just capitalizing on the situation and going in for a counterattack. Zerg could still go for a Queen Mark, or a Queen Walk rather, but like, they'd have to go for like either a Lair with a Nidus Worm, or they would have to go Overlords with Overlord Speed and all that. Like, there's a variety of things that Zerg has to do right now, and all of those pushes are gonna hit quite a bit later. So I do think there's still some room for Stargate openers. And I think double Stargate Void Ray is definitely also still an option. It's just not as good as it once was, but the counters that Zerg has are also not as good as they once were. If that makes any sense. Yeah, the Queen nerf is actually a very significant one. It may actually be the biggest nerf in the patch. So the main change that they made to those units is that they can no longer transfuse off creep. Doesn't sound like a big deal, but... oh, nicely done. There's a lot of openers that Zerg could go for that could just straight up punish a Protoss, but also a Terran player, if they played a little bit too greedily. But I do think there's still room for Queen Marches too, though, right? Like, so a lot of the Queen Marches were done at Hatchery Tech. Do we have a Link Flood, by the way? Oh my god, I think we have a Link Flood. Yeah, Link's right here on the left side of the map. Sneaking by. Adepts get recalled right away. Probes over here available as well, saving that pylon, and he actually plugs the wall. That's awesome. Nicely done right here by Max. Keeping his head cool. Yeah, there's just a ton of Zerglings right now coming up for Dark. He wants to try and see if he can kill the Cybernetics Core because it's so exposed before that research finishes up. Twilight Council opener once again here by our Protoss player. I think it should finish. Oh my god, is it gonna finish? No, yeah, it will. Only Zealots are gonna be the option right now here for the Protoss player. Warp Gates transforming as slowly as they possibly can. New Cyber Core coming up. You need a Cybernetics Core to make Adepts or Stalkers, right? And Zealots aren't actually that great. Although I think he could probably go ahead and, yeah, just make another wall-off over here. Beautiful play by MaxPax. Excellent resealing here of the wall. At this point, all he needs to do is just sit. Don't worry about it. Go into Glaives, sure. But Zerg right now is in a really awkward position. 17 drones in total. He made about 1 million Zerglings. Okay, he decides to go for a Baling's Nest and a second Gas Geyser. So Dark is like, okay, my first wave of all-in didn't work. My second wave might just work. And MaxPax moving out right now is a gigantic error. I actually don't think you want to move out. Yeah, Zerg is going to just snatch up those units easy. Oh my god. MaxPax just needed to sit there behind the wall. Adepts, okay. I think 2 of them there did warp back, so that's nice. But, yeah, all he needed to do was just sit and bank on his economy. I guess he had all of those units, so he's like, okay, I guess I want to try and move out. But with recall and cooldown, not the ideal move. Okay. Dark. He's been continuously making units since, well, the start of the game. He's looking. Oh, nice scout here for Max. Okay, if MaxPax scouts this, I think you want to just sit behind the wall, no? Don't you just want to, like, create a wall off over here? Like, make them go through the gateways. Is that not what you want to do? Okay, I don't think you want to be shading in that direction. Where are we going with those adepts? Okay, I guess we're going in for a counterattack. Stalker here immediately falls. A lot of these probes are, well, they're going to need to look for a new home. Okay, recall once again. I actually really like that MaxPax decided to put all of his additional infrastructure there in the main base. It means that he's got at least some of those gateways still available. So, Cybercore number 3 is coming up right now. Dark did kill the main, or sorry, the natural expansion right here of the Protoss player, because I'm fairly certain he's not going to be able to keep that one alive. Or maybe he can. That's a lot of adepts. But what I'm getting at is, does it really even matter? We're still talking, well, it's obviously a nice pickup right here for Dark, right? But we're still talking 17 drones versus 37 probes. That being said, yeah, there's way too many workers inside of the main base. Max is gonna have to try and reacquire that natural. Man, imagine if he wouldn't have gotten surrounded over here and if he wouldn't, like, have tried to shade towards the left side of the map. He's trying to play 300 IQ builds right here against Dark, and he's trying to be clever with his army movement. Now, once again, we're caught against Zerg army in the base. So Max going for a warp in on the other side of the map. There is energy for a recall, but recall is not available yet. And now Dark is gonna go into the main base of our Protoss player. Okay, Max makes another base race out of this. Are we gonna go for... Is this the 3rd base race in 3 games? Alright, here come the Banelinks. That is so much damage. At the same time, though, Adepts... Yeah, they've made it into the main base of the Zerg player. All of the Zerg's units here are being killed. I think it is worth reminding you that the win condition in a game of professional StarCraft 2 is to kill all of your opponent's structures. Is there enough firepower right now for Max to clean up those units at home? He's got some money in the bank, 150 minerals still. Both players don't really have that much. Zerg obviously doesn't have a lot of income either, but he could send out a couple of drones and make like an extractor in the bottom left-hand corner or something along those lines. Adepts are pretty good at killing units, not so good against structures in general. But I think Dark has successfully deduced the situation that he's in. There's really no way he's going to be able to stop this from happening. If you go back just to the main base of the Protoss player, I mean, there were still some units available, but recall at this point is done too. I think you could just recall, like, I don't know, 3 of those units. It'd be okay. It would still be relatively close, though. I feel like both of these players are GGing out a tad too early for my liking. Glittering Ashes is going to be our next map. Dark going for the classic Ling Flood. One of the easiest Zerg builds you can go for, and you can see that it's extremely effective. Most of the time, though, when Zerg players fail with the initial Ling Flood, they will try and, like, awkwardly macro behind it, and then Protoss can just sort of win. That's, I guess, the reason why Max decided to send out those units right after he warped them in at home for the base defense. He's like, well, now I've got all these units. There's a good chance he's droning right now, so I should send them out. Dark, though, apparently does not, half-hours anything. He just goes in for a full assault, and that's it. Curious to see where this is going to go now. Max points, obviously, or max point? I was going to say match point for MaxPax. Max point. That kind of works. Trying to be a nuisance right here with that very first probe. Forcing the Zerg to not go for the natural, but the 3rd base instead. Dark, though, has been making a beeline for the 3rd base right away. He's fine with having that one at the 3rd base location. Max going for a 20 supply Cybercore right here, and then a 20 supply Nexus on the low ground as well. Alright, everything is A-okay. The next decision will likely be when MaxPax decides to go for his follow-up structure. So all of the Protoss branches happen after the cybernetics core tech. So it's pylon into gateway into cybercore, and then with the cybercore you've got a variety of options. Twilight Council, Stargate, robotics facility. And from there obviously you can once again branch off into a variety of things. Straight into warp gate research, straight into chrono boost with an adept. So MaxPax, someone who was always very fond on going for the Stargate opener, hasn't shown it to us. Okay, second adept coming up as well. Another gateway, yeah. So we're at 112 gas right now. Are we still gonna go Stargate? No, we're gonna go for another gateway over there too. Okay. We're only doing 2 and 2 in gas. So there are a couple of build orders that are very hard to scout for a Zerg that do not actually get any tech structures. So you don't go Twilight, you don't go Robo, and you don't go Stargate. One of them is 5 gateways. Okay, this is a wonderful scout by Dark, man. He's super good at sneaking lings in. Sounds like an easy thing. There's about 17 different other things to manage at this point in the game already. Zerglings over there were killed. Oh, actually, he doesn't get the scout. If he goes for 2 more... No, do you not go for a Robo facility with that one too? Do you not want to get a Prism? What exactly is Max doing here? What? Twilight Council right now? So that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. He could have already afforded that Twilight Council like literally a minute sooner. Obviously there's such a thing as an anti-timing, right? So right now Dark gets into the main base as well. He's like, okay. But we saw a lot of units there being produced before any sort of research there or any sort of tech variety. I was thinking maybe it could be like a 5-gate all-in, where you just get yourself a Prism and you just hit your opponent in the face before they really expect it. That's a killer timing attack that I haven't really seen at the pro level. Now we're gonna go into Glaives regardless? Hold up, I'm gonna go back. Normally, if you want to go for Glaive to Depths, you start up the Twilight Council when you finish up the Cybernetics core. I think Max decided to go for... Maybe he was like... Was he just super late on the second gas? Or like, what happened there? I'm not exactly sure. But he could go for a Cybernetics core right now. I mean, if he, you know, wanted to go for one. So at like 210. Instead, it's gonna be a Twilight Council here. At like, what, 310? So he's got the money for it right now. I'm so confused by some of these builds. I never know if it's by design or if they're just messing up. I'm fairly certain it's by design. But it just seems sloppy, if that makes any sense. These adepts are supposed to have glaives, but glaives is only like, what? 20% of the way done? So you're not going to be able to do anything. That being said, Dark did scout this, so he's going to have to respect it, because, you know. Then again, he also did see the timing right there of the Twilight Council, so he's, you know, he might just accidentally read this as someone who made a mistake, or maybe he knows what's going on here. Yeah, he's just droning behind this. So there are more adepts coming, though. This is so awkward. Now we're gonna go double Stargate? I thought we were gonna go for a third base. Or like, you know, a Prism. Dark probably also second-guessing himself. Now Glaives is gonna finish up. Resonating Glaives, 10 seconds away. 8 seconds. Well, you can see it right there on the right side of the map. Protoss was thinking about going for a third. Generally speaking, whenever we see this sort of trickiness, right? Just solid, straightforward play is the way to go against it. Dark right now probably scratching his head a little bit as well, confused about exactly what's happening. But I believe he's making pretty much all the right moves. Okay, I do like this. 2 adepts. Snuck away from the pack. The rest of the adepts did commit to the main base though, so those are going to be killed for basically free. Dark already droning aggressively behind this. And now it's going to be Phoenixes as a follow-up. I don't... like, maybe someone can explain what the idea right here was, but I don't think I like it. In the end, it's fine. It's just that now Zerg has got basically all the time in the world to do whatever they like. Apparently what Mr. Dark likes doing right now is scouting with an Overseer, so he's going to find the double Stargate, and he's going to hit the opponent in the face with a bunch of what are they called? Ravagers, Zerglings, and then also Roaches. Okay, so we're going to go up to about 5 Phoenixes. 5 Phoenixes is a decent amount. Dark probably wants to try and see if he can kill the third base here. If he can kill the third base, that would be amazing for him, but obviously the Phoenixes can provide quite a distraction here. Yeah. And once the Phoenixes clean everything else up, then suddenly the Adepts can go in for a counterattack too. That being said, looks like the units there will be baited in. They're not going to be able to escape. And while the Stalkers are desperately... Or sorry, the Phoenixes are desperately trying to kill whatever they can. I think eventually these Protoss ground units will fall. Phoenixes also are spellcasters. These are the strangest Protoss magicians ever. But they do run out of energy. Dark really wants to kill the third, but... Kinda dangerous. Alright. Nidus Network as a follow-up as well from Dark. Okay, you know what? MaxPax actually defended that really closely, but he did defend. That was ridiculously close, but he does actually hold on there. He's been making probes the entire time. You don't want to be lifting Zerglings. He's been making probes the entire time, so he does have more workers available right now than the Zerg player. Plus, the Phoenixes obviously have yet to go in. Generally speaking, Phoenixes are going to kill some drones, at least some. That being said, the Nidus Network here is done. Dark immediately plants it down on the left side of the map. Okay. MaxPax managed to defend by the skin of his teeth once. Is he going to be able to do it a second time as well when there's queens on the other side of the map? I think that's the plan anyways. Phoenixes, they know they're going to have to go home. I don't think you can lift. I don't think you can lift. I actually really do like this though. Yes, Overlords are found right here by MaxPax. This is an awesome little move because now Zerg is going to be heavily supply blocked. 7 Overlords are coming up. Another Nidus Worm coming up outside of the natural expansion right here of the Protoss player too. So Nidus Worms now spawn with a little bit more creep around them. So Dark is going to be able to pave the road with creep. Okay, Spore Crawlers being brought to the front as well. You can't bring spores through the Nidus Worm, but you can bring drones. Immortal coming up. Shield batteries coming up as well here for Max. Cybercore very exposed. But is there enough? Okay. Ooh, I actually love this as well. A couple of depths here creating a distraction. No micro on them though, so they're gonna go down. The units will pop out to the other side of the map once again, but there was a little bit of time, I guess, that the Protoss player just bought for himself. Corrosive Vials making short work of a lot of it. I'm assuming those spores are gonna move forward as well. Yes, they will. There are not that many queens available. Only 6 queens in total versus 12 Phoenixes is actually a really nice advantage right here for the Protoss player. Roaches though, okay, once again, over at the third base of the Protoss. MaxPax just needs to stabilize, right? If you can keep the third base alive, that would be amazing. But it's not like Dark has a whole lot to go for, you know, from here either. That being said, those spores are actually really nice, yeah. He's stopped producing Stargate units altogether right now and is just going for a ground-based approach. Primarily because of those queens and those spore crawlers. Okay, one of his own gateways here is going to be gunned down by the Immortals and the Stalkers. I would love to see a Prism coming up or something along those lines, or maybe another Immortal or two, but... Anyways, all of it is very expensive. MaxPax, though, with a ton of money in the bank. Oh, we started up another Nexus on the right side. Okay. Yep. He successfully figured out that there's enough army right here for him to deal with all of this. Can we at least go for an Observer? We can, but he hit a supply block. Phoenix is once again on the offense. Dark droning behind this, but that is going to be awkward, right? You kind of need to have a bunch of Spore Crawlers over here. You can't bring those spores home. I mean, they're dead, so kind of hard to do anyways. MaxPax with some ridiculously clutch defense. Okay, Observer at this point is out. Took a little bit longer than it needed to, but eventually he's going to be able to get rid of all of those creep tumors over here too. And MaxPax manages to stabilize, but now he's got a 4th base up. And no 3rd. Transition right here from Protoss is into a Forge. And a whole lot of gateways. So that's going to be 7 gateways. No, 8 gateways in total. +1 coming up as well. So MaxPax is just gonna go for a good old ground army. Dark expending like nothing happened. Spreading the creep around the base. He probably realizes that there's a good chance that Protoss is gonna go for an all-in, but he didn't actually scout the base on the right side. So the fact that Dark is droning right here is actually so ballsy. He's a gambling man, but it's working out for him so far. Yeah, he makes the assumption here that Protoss did expend, but it could just be a 2-base all-in, right? Anyways, MaxPax has been making units for quite some time. Protoss army has not been spotted until right about right now. MaxPax showing, like, you know, hey, I'm here. What? giving Dark the heads up. Allowing him to make 7 additional Ravagers. Now, Ravagers are going to be amazing in these kinds of battles. Queen, Ravager, Roach, Link. Quite the army comp. Wouldn't be surprised if he decides to go for another base right here on the left. Bailing Nest is gonna, okay, be cancelled. Instead, we're gonna go into a Hydralisk then. Prism in the main base, warping in a couple of Zealots. Charge, of course, is done at this point, which is really nice. This is good, actually. So 4th base is gone here as well. MaxPax forcing the cancel on that. He's going for his own 4th base at the 3rd base location. Roach is in the main base, not quite taking care of this problem just yet. Spork Crawler's repositioning. Queens at the front. Queens get lifted up as well, but not enough available here for Max. Or is there? I mean, that is a scary Protoss army. Warping over here at the 3rd base as well. Zerg is now all of a sudden being attacked at 3 different angles. He's going to be paying attention to a bunch of those fights. MaxPax, though, just focused at this one battle right here at the front. Lifting up the Ravagers with the Phoenixes. Lifting up the Queens with the Phoenixes as well. Archon skiting backwards here, dealing with tons of those drones, easy peasy. And suddenly, 35 workers of the Zerg player have gone down. Eventually, with the majority of the Zerg army coming to the front, he decides to recall the army back home. Clever move there once again by Max. I would have loved to see continuous production right there on that robotics facility, because I think a few more Immortals, maybe even a 2nd Prism would be amazing. But Dark right now going for an all-in. Dark right now has to win the game with this army that is got here right now. Otherwise, MaxPax is going to be macroing off of 4 bases, and with 39 drones, you're not going to catch up. Alright, I think you give up this base. I honestly think you give up that base. Do you not? Okay. Is there enough here for the Protoss player? I think there is, and Dark knows it. He decides to tap out, and just like that, it is MaxPax who obtains the victory in this Best of 5 series.